Deep within a bleak and dismal era, hidden within the murky internet, lies the headquarters of the most sinister geeks of all time. A Legion on Zoom.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Legion on Zoom. And as usual, I'm Ches.
And I'm Miguel.
And I'm Rod.
And we are headed on another adventure, guys. And
not just any episode of the Legion on Zoom, a very special, well, we're trying to make it as special as we can. It's not really special, but a San Diego Comic-Con special episode.
San Diego Comic-Con!
For those of the pop culture, quote unquote, parentheses, nerd ilk or what have you, it's the New Year's, the Christmas, the Valentine's Day, the fucking Arbor Day, the July 4th, what have you. This is like the mother of all events, and it technically didn't happen this year. And it technically did. Because due to the ongoing pandemic, as we all know, it's still going on, they canceled the whole thing because it's impossible to social distance in cosplay, as you guys know, and also just a bunch of people on top of each other.
At least, I think at least it wouldn't be a problem with the masks, though. I think people will be wearing fucking a ton of masks. Dope-ass masks, too.
That would have been epic. But then it would have been negated by all the body sweat in those amazing costumes. Yeah, so the event actually happened. A bunch of panels were held. They were streamed for free. So this might be like the first Comic-Con where everyone saved money. And we all got to see some pretty cool stuff.
I don't know about it was okay.
Yeah, so usually Marvel and DC, they're the main events for San Diego Comic-Con, the biggest Comic-Con in the world. But although New York Comic-Con is slowly creeping up to take that title.
New York City!
But this year, DC's taking all their shit and having their own online event next month called DC Fandom. That's on August 22nd, and we will for sure be covering that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I mean, and let's be honest, pretty soon after that, we're probably going to cover Marvel Fandom event.
Well, hopefully, if they have a fandom, I think don't they usually have that Disney Expo, the D23 thing, whatever they do around? I don't even remember when they do it.
I was thinking about that as I was saying the Marvel Fandom event, but then I started speculating in my head as I was talking that they're probably going to spin off a whole Marvel thing. Like they're like, okay, so they're doing that at Warner Brothers, like with DC. Let's do like a Marvel bash.
Yeah, and it'll be all bad news. Spider-Man delayed. The WandaVision delayed. Falcon and the Winter Soldier delayed.
Delay Fest 2020 delayed till 2021.
The Infinity Gauntlet would be powerless against COVID. Like this shit is just taken over and delayed everything. The New Mutants is supposed to come out, I think, next month, which is the only comic book movie currently getting a theatrical release officially.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but totally, exactly. We'll just get nothing but bad news, but exactly, as long, because COVID, Infinity Gauntlet has nothing against, with COVID, man. Shit, like, I think even at this point, I think Thanos would have died from COVID.
He probably caused COVID. Shit. How many people has he killed already? This is like his dream.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think the COVID mortality rate is a little bit below the Infinity Gauntlet snap of 50%.
So far.
So far.
So it's a little bit below.
Yeah. But to talk about San Diego Comic-Con, exactly like Jess was saying, this is like Christmas, for us comic book fans. Like every year, when we reach Comic-Con, it's just awesome. Like I remember just waking up, seeing what was in the news. It was like I wasn't able to be there and just see what was announced, and I was kind of excited when I first heard that they were making the San Diego Comic-Con like at home. It was going to be free. It was all going to be streaming. I thought like, oh, dope. That sounds like a good idea. But it did, like, it sucked, exactly like Rod said. Like, so DC and Marvel, basically, which were obviously the big names, took out basically all. They didn't have any big showing there, so it's like, come on, guys, you guys give it to the fans. We need it. You know, it's a fucking pandemic. Come
and
on.
not just that, there was also a Justice Con event the same weekend. So there's these like independent conventions popping up too. But I feel like Justice Con had the real news, the real juicy shit.
Ooh,
They released
tell us.
a very short clip of Zack Snyder's upcoming Justice League, which reveals who walks up on Alfred, you know, in that Jurassic Park-esque when his whiskey glass is like rippling, and then he's like, "Oh, we've been waiting for you," or some shit like that. So in the scene that we were shown during Justice Con,
Would it be a spoiler, like if you said it?
No, a spoiler for a teaser, god damn. But
I mean, because you said somebody, that's why I was asking.
It's on YouTube. It's not a spoiler.
yeah, it's everywhere.
I'm just like, I mean, he didn't say who it was. That's why I was asking.
So it's Black Suit Superman.
What?
All right. So and these Black Suit scenes were completely omitted from the Joss Whedon cut. So it's good to see that. And he revealed that there's more to come for fandom. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, apparently he said right that at DC fandom he's going to finally confirm whether this the Snyder cut for the Justice League is going to be either a movie, right? Like a who knows how many hours long movie, or if it's going to be like a series, kind of like a 4-episode thing. So that's actually, and I think he's going to actually have some kind of trailer for it.
Ooh.
So which is fucking cool.
Yeah, he has as much as 4 hours. They revealed. That's a lot of content.
Jesus Christ.
And it's like the more news keeps coming out about the Whedon hit job, essentially, because at this point, any more news that comes out about the Snyder cut is just a bunch more news and evidence about the Whedon hit job. It just goes to show.
I would just like to say for the fans listening right now, you heard it first. Whedon hit job right here. Legion on Zoom, episode 1. If this is the first time you're listening, please stop, pause right now, go to episode 1, and you'll find all the details about the Whedon hit. I wasn't a believer. I wasn't, but you know, I see the light.
People called me crazy. I was made fun of. I went through a dark time.
You were tarred and feathered at one point.
Like legit tarred and feathered. That shit hurt. But I overcame. And I stood for my beliefs in the Whedon hit job. Every time Snyder opens his mouth, there's just more evidence. How do you have 4 hours of unused footage? That's a whole movie.
Oh, right. Also, he said that he's going to use 0 of Whedon's reshoots. So we're going to get all fresh footage.
Yeah, so like at that point, it's not unused footage. It's like, hey, I have a different movie.
It is a different movie.
Exactly. So it's like, it just points out overwhelmingly that when they brought Whedon in, and I'm sorry I sound upset because it's just so crazy. Like, I wish I could be a fly on the wall for his creative process. Like, yeah, I'm going to purposely make this shit. Like, I just came over from, you know, like the Disney Marvel camp. I'm doing awesome shit over there. So obviously I know what awesome is, and I'm going to come here and make shit. Like, come on.
And collect a paycheck. You know, Kevin Feige.
Exactly.
Kevin Feige sent him on the low, like, yo, go sink that ship. It's already like, you know, on its last legs. Fuck them.
Yo, I believe that 100% over like 150-year-old scotch.
Yeah, and we've talked about this at length. I have my thoughts, my impressions on Zack Snyder, but that's true about the week, because that's a good point, exactly, because we've seen Whedon do good shit, right? Even Age of Ultron, which was like it was better than Justice League. Come on,
oh,
like
by far.
Like even his absolute worst was eons better than what he did on Justice League. And then it goes to show that, technically, by Snyder's logic, if he's using a 0% of the Whedon footage, that means that Whedon used a 0% of the Snyder footage.
No, I'm not necessarily.
You get what I'm saying? Like, but like, you kind of get what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy. So like,
because we covered in the first episode how like about a third was used of his footage.
So he cherry
in the theatrical release.
Yeah, because remember for the Whedon cut, they did a massive amount of reshoots, right? So that's why we got the infamous, you know, super stash or whatever the hashtag was, with Superman having the, you know, Henry Cavill he had a mustache because he was filming, I don't know what movie, a spy film.
Mission Impossible.
Oh, it was Mission Impossible. Yeah, right.
No. No. I think was the agent that Uncle.
Oh,
from
the uncle.
Uncle's,
Yeah,
some
exactly.
shit like that. Something that's named after a relative.
By the way, Henry Cavill can fucking rock a mustache, so I'd be okay with a Superman with a mustache. He looks pretty fucking dope.
Henry Cavill rocks. Period.
That's
Oh,
true.
and speaking of which, I just learned that they used the body double. So he never actually filmed scenes in that new brightened up Superman costume that we saw in Justice League.
Out of disgust.
And no wonder, like, his neck looked skinny. I'm like, damn, what happened to Henry Cavill? Like, is he like going through some shit? Because he's just getting more and more jacked over time.
Yo, I love that you saw Justice League and you're like, yo, what's up? My boy's neck is skinny. I'm like, how did you notice?
That's a fan.
His hairline looked funny. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on? So not only was the mustache removed, but his face was superimposed on his stunt double.
Oh. No.
That's why he just looked weird. It just looked strange all around.
Right. So that's the thing. So we didn't use, a lot of the stuff that was already done, by Snyder, but then he went fucking ham on fucking making reshoots, right? And having them come back, refilm a lot of the stuff, and then also fucking like color grading the shit out of it, changing drastically the colors from like a much more of a darker tone to a little bit more vibrant and like even like reddish kind of color thing. And like Rod said with the suit, just making it pop more like in terms of the colors. So
yeah, fuck that. I like Zack Snyder. He just took all the color out, just black, straight up. And there are rumors that there's going to be a black and white release of the Snyder cut too, just to play off of the promo art, the promo images that were released.
And also, just a quick side notice, I want to give a sincere apology to our listeners for us going on this Snyder cut tangent again. I feel like they deserve that.
Yeah, so that's all Justice Con news. So back to San Diego Comic Con. We did.
Wait. I think just to wrap up the Justin Con news, I do want to say though, right? Because you guys have heard me. I've talked shit about the Zack Snyder cut, his films. But seeing that scene of seeing Superman in the black suit, I'm like, that looks dope. Like I want to see this. Like
Bam.
I'm actually, yeah.
Bam.
I mean, we did. So San Diego Comic Con did have one little nugget for us fans. Primarily the New Mutants sneak peek. They held a panel. I haven't seen the footage, but we could always just take a quick pause and take a peek.
I don't know what you mean about quick pause, but we can use our special Legion on Zoom fucking gimmicks.
I think he said quick pause because he just didn't want to detail our advanced technology. But if you guys want me to push the button, I can push the button.
Push the button.
Let's do it.
And we're back from viewing those two awesome trailers with our awesome technology.
For real. So yeah, the New Mutants trailer. Guys, what do you think?
That was freaking insane.
Yo, I'm excited about that because first of all, right, like it's supposed to come out in August. This is the first time they're giving us, at least they gave us 2 full minutes of the movie, and like. Didn't they start filming like back in 1992 or whenever it was? Like it's been fucking. They filmed this years ago.
Word. This movie's older than the comic book that it's inspired by. Yeah. So apparently this was part of Fox's attempt to take a new direction with their X-Men franchise. We had Logan, rated R, very serious. Hugh Jackman's beautiful swan song to the series. We had Deadpool, just fucking awesome. And this movie was supposed to come out like 3 years ago or some shit like that.
Yeah, no, but like I'm excited. I like the trailer because I honestly was losing enthusiasm for this movie. But because I'm a big X-Men fucking fan. Like we've talked about, Rod's a DC fanboy. I'm a fucking huge X-Men fan, so I'm very excited. I personally haven't really read the new Mutant books. Right, I've been reading the new one that's been written by Jonathan Hickman, which is fantastic. So I was excited to see the clip. They gave us our first live incarnation of Danny Moonstar. She's the girl in the clip that the dad did, because she's Native American, that the dad's trying to protect her from whatever. And then we get a small little taste at the end of the clip of showing us Wolfsbane. What's her name? Rani Sinclair, whatever. Yeah. So that's like, exciting to see them on fucking screen. Let's see what they do.
The one thing that struck me kind of odd about the trailer, though, was just the fact that unless you know about these very niche characters within like the bigger X-Men universe, you'd have no idea that this was a comic book property. You would think that this is just like a horror movie.
Word.
Oddly enough, like as I was watching it, I was like, if I didn't know that this was within like the mutant corner of like the Marvel universe, I'd have no idea that this was a Marvel movie.
Yeah, and this movie's not attached to any continuity anymore. I honestly don't care much about it, to be honest, because Fox has been acquired by Disney, and of course they're going to take the X-Men franchise. The Marvel Studios is going to take that and do their own thing with it. This is just like a layover. This is like it's like a leftover is what I meant to say. Of like the X-Men franchise. Yeah,
it's both layovers and leftover.
But when you're on a layover, you're on a flight, you want to watch some shit, you're probably gonna watch New Mutants, right?
Yeah. Nah. I disagree because I'm excited. I'm excited about the movie because I'm thinking about it. Yeah, all right. It's not connected to any large cinematic universe. It will. Who knows if it will be though down the road, right? But like I don't. It's not. But I'm thinking about it like the Joker movie, right? Or where even sort of Logan was sort of like, is it connected? Is it not connected? Right? Where I honestly just want a good film, and I want it to be a dope film about mutants, and especially the New Mutants. I'm very happy to see like Cannonball, Sunspot, fucking Danny Wolfsbane.
They're in it.
Yes, they're the New Mutants.
Okay. I'm a little bit more interested now.
That's gonna be epic. Yeah.
Do we know who the villain is?
Not that I know of. Originally, I think they all got together in the comic books because of the Shadow King and Legion too. And Legion was a big deal because I think that's, if I remember correctly, that's what the storyline was before. So I don't know if they'd be using Shadow King, but given that Shadow King, I don't think you guys have seen this, but Shadow King is heavily used in the Legion show.
Oh yeah,
which is also a very fucking good mutant show. I highly recommend.
Yeah, I saw a few episodes. That Legion show was fucking trippy. The one thing that I wouldn't be surprised is kind of like you said, who knows? Like if this movie does make a lot of money, out of nowhere you're gonna see the New Mutants are being adopted into like the next phase of whatever the fuck shit.
That shit ain't gonna happen.
Rod.
Or maybe not the whole thing, but shit, dude, you said Cannonball. Do you know how epic it's gonna be to see Cannonball on screen?
My boy Sam Guthrie. Let's do it.
Bro, that movie should be free on YouTube, and it should be released now. Like, what the fuck are they waiting for?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm willing to go to the movie theater. I'm willing to, risk catching COVID to watch it because I love going to the movies to watch comic book films. Obviously, we all do.
Yes.
It's a social event, and hey, we get to rock some masks and shit, right? Yeah. Fuck it.
I'm with it. I'll be right there with you, buddy. We'll do a podcast episode in the theater. Fuck it.
That'd be pretty epic.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so New Mutants, at least they gave us that. They gave us we neither one of us saw the panel, but we heard it was fine. I don't care at this point. Just fucking give us a movie.
I did watch the director talk about it a little bit at the end, and how the earlier scripts were more tied to the larger X-Men universe because Illyana Rasputin is a character, and they were supposed to give nods about her. She's Colossus's sister. We saw Colossus in Deadpool. We've seen him in the X films. I mean, they still could, right? Because we got a different version of Colossus in both those movies anyway.
Exactly.
I love the Deadpool Colossus.
Word.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I also love the Days of Future Past, that was the guy that appeared in, X3 and X2 as well.
Word.
But yeah, that version was dope too. But yeah, the Deadpool one was fucking hilarious.
I'm not going to front though. I mean, like, even though we got like that full-on Colossus in Deadpool 2, and we got that awesome one beforehand, does anything top that moment where we first saw him transform full-on? Like, I think it was, X1, right?
That's X2 when when Stryker's Black Ops infiltrate the X Mansion and Wolverine goes ham. That's the first time we really see Wolverine do a Berserker barrage on screen. He just, to protect the kids and shit. That is one of my favorite, if not my favorite X film of them all, X2, X-Men United.
All right, so I think we've been I think for the last few episodes really been focused a lot on DC, and we've said there's been a lot of DC news. So at least that's the one good thing about San Diego Comic-Con. We got this dope 2-minute preview of New Mutants, and related to Marvel, we got finally the first trailer for the new show to be aired on Hulu for Helstrom. Because technically, the character's name can be called different things. He's actually called also Hellstorm in the comic books, but also by Helstrom. So now we just saw the trailer too. What do you guys think?
I think it's a knockoff Constantine. Like, well, these companies always, they mimic each other with their properties. And from the trailer, I get that it's a Constantine-esque show. Very supernatural. He's probably going to have some love interest. Maybe he's an alcoholic. Some shit like that.
Shit, at that point, that wouldn't be a knockoff. That would be Constantine.
We're that straight, just copy and paste. Yo, but actually, that made me think too, because in a recent episode, which people will hear, we talked about the Lucifer trailer, and I think this gave me a little bit of vibes for that too, because I don't know if you guys know. I know a little bit. I haven't really read too much about Helstrom. I just read mostly about him when he pops up in different comic books. He actually came up a lot in the New Avengers book that was written, I think, by Bendis primarily, the one that had what was it called? The Voodoo Brother, or no, what's it, Brother Voodoo, as like he became the Sorcerer Supreme at some point. Yeah, because I think the cool thing about Helstrom that makes him, I think, a little bit different than Constantine is that he's the literal son of Satan.
Damn.
So he's the son of Lucifer himself, and in the trailer we see that his sister's involved too, and so it's born from a human woman. And, which is pretty much like Sabrina. You guys have seen Sabrina Teenage Witch. Basically, that's the idea. Yeah. And so it's like, I'm curious. But yeah, exactly. It's like a Constantine, Lucifer kind of thing. But I like the trailer.
Well, I actually enjoyed it thoroughly. And I'm sick of everyone, like, just thinking that, like, the magic realm, or when it comes to comics in general, that is just like a few characters. We need far more magical diversity, so to speak. We need far more characters. So, like, for us to be getting a Helstrom movie, and for the first thing you guys to say that is like a Constantine, that's supposed to.
Wait, who's getting a Helstrom movie? You're getting a Helstrom
the show.
Movie?
Sorry, the Helstrom show.
Yo, did you use our powers to go so fucking deep in the future that you saw we're getting a movie? That's dope.
Oh shit!
Can't wait for that.
That's exactly what happened.
Direct to Hulu.
Word. But the fact that we're getting like a Helstrom show, and then like the first thing that happens is that it gets compared to Constantine as opposed to it's being like its own thing, kind of proves that we need far more like diversity as far as characters go within like the magical realm. I thought it was amazing, and I personally think as far as concept goes, there's going to be far more different stories as opposed to somebody who learned to do magic as somebody who's like a borderline celestial being.
It's cool to have new characters. I'm probably going to skip it. I did enjoy Cloak and Dagger on Hulu. That was a good show.
No, that wasn't on Hulu. No, that was on Freeform.
It was also on Hulu. Well, really? Yeah, maybe both platforms, but I saw it through Hulu.
Oh, nice.
And they also had the Runaways, and this was Helstrom was part of, multiple shows that Marvel was planning. Right, Ghost Rider was supposed to get a spin-off, the Ghost Rider from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show.
I would have loved that.
But now apparently they're putting all their efforts into their own Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, no, and I guess that makes sense. I get like, why are you guys gonna make fucking shows for potential? I guess Disney owns Hulu too. I don't even know. Disney owns the world pretty much at this point.
Yeah, that shit is really confusing. Like it's pretty bugged out. It's kind of like they're gonna make shows for Disney Plus. They're gonna make shows on Hulu. They own both services, but you can't access the shows on both.
Like, honestly, for me, like I saw the trailer Helstrom. I liked it. I'm excited. I know a little bit about the character, enough to get me like intrigued. But to be honest, it's the same thing. I don't know how much I'm gonna watch it until I hear the reviews, probably. Because the other thing too, besides it not being necessarily like such a well-known person, is that it's on Hulu too, right? So I'm like, I'm not still sold on Hulu and their shows. Like I saw Runaways and really didn't. No,
trash,
exactly. And it's like, I love Hulu for seeing old shit on Hulu. Their own shows, I don't know. I don't know if I'm up there.
And for the listeners that are not fans of mainstream comic books or comic books at all, Brian K. Vaughan did a fantastic run of The Runaways for Marvel Comics, which is one of my favorite and only loosely tied to continuity. And I was expecting the same from this show, the same kind of depth to the characters, but it turned out to be like a weird kind of drama, like like a UPN 9 kind of deal. Like, I don't know what the fuck. Quality was
I
trash.
haven't heard the term UPN 9 in years.
But luckily, Cloak and Dagger did really well. It was Netflix-esque, but other than that,
You recommend? I haven't seen Cloak. All I saw were the trailers, and I felt it was going to be another teen drama-ish thing that Runaways was. But so then you're saying it's worth checking it out?
it's really good. It's really good. I mean, it does get kind of wacky toward the end of the first season, but it's a quality show.
You know, and they got canceled, right?
Did they?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't everything getting canceled nowadays?
And just all go like they should just put all their effort into their original programming for Disney Plus, because I feel like we live in a continuity-driven world, especially with the Marvel property. I mean, look at Infinity War and what it did, bringing how many years of films into one amazing 2-part adventure. Like people, I think that's what people want to see. But
Yeah. No,
again,
I
like
agree.
you mentioned, the Joker did really well, and it was divorced from continuity.
And I think that's the beauty of comic book movies. And first of all, yeah, I just Googled. So they were canceled in October. So it was just one season. So at least, that I think that also motivated me to see it. But I think that's the cool thing about the comic book movies, because it fits in between those two worlds, right? Because one of the great things I think about reading comic books is the continuity, and how insane it is, how long it is. There's so much history. They're trying to retcon it. There's the rebirth crises to kind of get it back, but it's still within one world, Like, when you're reading a Spider-Man comic book, that when he's doing whatever he's doing in that book, Iron Man and everybody else is doing their own shit in their own, but it's within the same world. So that's one of the awesome things about comic books. Obviously, the great things about movies and films are that they're awesome standalone works of art. That's the cool thing about this, right? That they can do both, right? They can do movies like Joker, where you're like, let's just fucking make it a beautiful film. I wasn't a big fan of Joker, but we'll talk about this some other day. But it was a great film.
No, I want to talk about this right now. What the fuck? What do you mean? That shit was awesome.
I liked it. I didn't like. I felt like at the end, all of a sudden, like with the Joker movie, like they kind of all of a sudden, especially in the spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, by now I think it's safe to just go for it.
I know, right? You should have seen it by now. I felt at some point they did a good job. For people that don't know, I'm obviously biased because I'm a neuropsychologist, so I know about mental health and stuff like that. So I think they did a good job for the most part, showing his neurological illness, showing his mental health issues, and showing that he's fucking, out of it, right? Struggling. But then all of a sudden, at the end, when he kills Robert De Niro, he gives this speech where he's all aware of these societal issues, and he's making these commentaries that I felt there was nothing in the film that made me think that he was going to do that, right? The world around him was making these commentaries about social issues, but he wasn't. He was detached. He was like, I don't know, I just want to be funny, and that's it, And I felt when that scene happened, that's what killed it for me, because I felt that was a director getting into him. What's his name? Todd Phillips, getting into him and then giving his soapbox commentary of the world, which was like, that's fine. But like how all of a sudden, the Joker's like super rational and making all these comments about society when he wasn't doing any of that before. That's what I didn't like. And that for me ruined the movie. It was still a great movie. I would still give it like, I don't know, an 8.5 out of 10. But for me, that was the piece I was like, come on.
Damn,
now.
that's high.
Yeah. I still like it.
Well, I mean, I find it kind of odd that you said that the Joker wasn't like that, because from what I remember, like almost in every single iteration, so whether he was the leader of the Red Hood gang, whether he was
No, but I mean, no, I agree. No, but I'm talking about this Joker, the one that we saw, Arthur Fleck, the guy we saw in the movie,
but
like him.
That was going to be the next iteration that I mentioned, even as a stand-up comedian, Arthur Fleck. What if that's how he felt internally, but he finally came to his full realization at the end of the movie? You know what I mean? We all have sentiments that we really can't express. But what if when like all the levees break, he's able to express himself in a more thorough manner? What if like those are all the things he knew about society, but he couldn't bring himself to say any of it? Maybe he felt some kind of shame or something, or maybe he just had so many mental blocks, because as you can see, the guy was a pushover. Who would express themselves that thoroughly when they're that much of a, of a doormat, basically? That really doesn't happen. he went from being like the ultimate introvert to being the ultimate extrovert.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I don't think that it was like some grandstand on a soapbox. I think that that's how the character felt the whole time, and it just got to the point that when everything broke, that's when he found the way to finally say it. It's kind of like, aside from, committing murder, he had like a brain-gasm.
Oh.
And then Todd Phillips kind of left it up to the audience to determine what occurred and what did not occur in that film.
I hated that part.
No, but see, for example, I love that. That's great. I love that we're both having these different views from the movie, because it was a good film. Like we can have, even for example, I disagree with that part. I didn't like that part. But I can acknowledge that it was a fucking Joaquin Phoenix killed it as fucking the whole film. It was beautifully filmed.
Yeah,
the cinematography is amazing.
My favorite part.
And it was, come on, they had a lot of scenes here in the Bronx. Like, come on, it's fucking dope. It was great. So, but I do think that's the cool thing that, all right, if you want to do a movie that's just standalone like that, all right, I'm gonna trust you. But if you want to make it connected to the fucking bigger universe like comic books are, like, I think you can do both. That's awesome.
All right, gentlemen. So I pose this question to you then: Heath Ledger or Joaquin Phoenix?
Heath Ledger.
I don't know if that's fair, but I'm gonna go with Ledger as well.
Really? Holy crap! I mean, what do you mean by not fair?
Because Joaquin Phoenix wasn't pitted against the Batman. I mean, we did have a Bruce Wayne. Because I don't know. You need these characters to play off each other, especially the Joker. And I feel like, Heath Ledger had an amazing Batman to play off of. Some argue that he's the best, right?
That's a very good point.
But Joaquin Phoenix kind of carried that film all on his own. The Bruce Wayne plot was very minor and maybe even thrown in specifically for the hardcore fans.
Hell yes.
Very true. Very good point. Good point. Good point.
But yeah, Jack Nicholson all the way. But yeah, this is a good segue. Speaking of standalone DC films, and also we touched on Constantine earlier. It's the 15-year anniversary of Keanu Reeves' Constantine film. Thoughts?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've always preferred the standalone Keanu Reeves version of Constantine to the entire continuation of the established Constantine lore. I really prefer that LA version. Everything about that movie was so amazing. Like, the only flaw, it was that I felt it was too short. And then it also gave us that awesome song by A Perfect Circle.
Oh, right. I forgot
Which
about
one was that one?
Passive, right?
Passive, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's a mainstay on my gym playlist.
Oh no, but I'm glad. Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you mentioned that because as we were talking about, like because we know if we're saying when we saw the Helstrom trailer that it reminded us of Constantine. Which Constantine are we thinking about here? We're thinking about Constantine, the Keanu Reeves movie, probably, right? Or are you thinking it reminds you of the Matt Ryan show? Like, come on.
Yeah, maybe more Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. I hear Constantine, I'm thinking Keanu. Whoa.
Yeah, but I got to see bits and pieces of that panel that they had. First of all, I love that Keanu Reeves was there to talk about Constantine. And I loved seeing, God, he's a fucking great guy. Like, honestly, like, he loved playing Constantine. He had such fond memories of being on set and doing, and actually you mentioned about it being in LA. Apparently, that was thanks to him. That he speculated, stipulated in his contract that it had to be filmed in LA, like on location. Like they didn't have to go like some fucking random, pretending it's Vancouver and pretending it's fucking LA. And they did it actually in LA proper, and that was because of him because he wanted that. Awesome.
That was a good call.
And I love, actually, I think we've mentioned this before, actually, in the episode when we talked about who's more epic, Constantine versus Strange, that he also had the same reservations as we had, where he said that he felt uncomfortable at the beginning because he said he never had heard about Constantine. Like, he read the script and he's like, all right, cool. And then he read the Hellblazer books. And then he was saying, well, I'm not British or blonde, so that he felt a little bit weird about that, but he was able still to kind of get a little bit at the core of who, John Constantine is. And so I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that difference. I would love to see a sequel.
I've heard rumors that it's possible. All right, this is wild dark web internet 3 a.m. shit. Again, this is a special segment right now. 3 a.m. internet. That
Put on the tinfoil hats, folks.
that Ezra Miller's Flash is gonna jump through the multiverse, and it's gonna provide an opportunity to potentially have him visit Constantine, Green Lantern, Batman, etc. Can you imagine
Good Lord.
to have him meet Keanu Reeves's Constantine and just blow the lid off of the movie theater?
For those of you who are not looking at the video, Miguel threw his arms up in total disarray at that theory.
I just couldn't. I forgot it's a podcast for a second there.
Can you imagine?
Dude,
I'm telling you, man.
I can't, because that'd be so freaking insane.
In a post-Infinity War world, you got to up the ante with these comic book movies, because it's to a point where I don't even rewatch. I used to rewatch every MCU movie theatrically and then at home a few times, but now there's so many of them that there's no time to watch them all, or the shows. Mm-hmm. But when you have a huge event like, you know, Endgame and what Flashpoint is looking like it's gonna be, with bringing in Michael Keaton and potentially Ryan Reynolds, like, these films are gonna get huge, and there's all kinds of rumors tied to Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness about having him potentially visit, you know, other worlds and other iterations of these characters, other film versions.
Ooh,
jeez, Louise, it's like to throw the kitchen sink at us. You know, like, the one thing that I've always liked about Keanu Reeves' Constantine, that it just came to mind, that, you know how in DC we get like the super multiverse treatment, you know, like the crime syndicate, the Injustice Gang, like every single major hero has so many different variations, on and on and on and on.
Word.
With Constantine, we really have only gotten like one Constantine. However, his only other variation, which is like a very minor DC treatment, is the one with Keanu Reeves. As far as I know, we've only been treated to one version of Constantine pretty much across the board.
You mean like in film and TV, or you're including comic books?
Yeah, in comic books too. Like, it's always like one Constantine. You know what I mean? Like, as far as
the British guy.
Yeah, the British one. Yeah.
Actually, for our Constantine versus Strange episode, I did a little bit of research, and technically, actually, there's two Constantines in the DC universe. Because I was saying for the original one from the Gaiman universe, right? From Sandman and all that, which he's the older version of Constantine. But when the rebirth happened, no, not rebirth, sorry, the crappy one, the New 52 one.
Which one?
They created a younger version of Constantine, but but it would seem that at the same time there was an ongoing Hellblazer book that showcased the older Constantine from the
original.
So there's those two versions, at least in the comic book that I know of. The one that's younger in the New 52 and technically now Rebirth, right? Who's in the Justice League Dark books and all that kind of stuff, plus the Constantine from the Sandman universe. So, which is, I think that's pretty actually fucking cool, because you're right. Even out of the characters, especially in DC, that's the only kind of difference that you get. Like, everybody else has been fucking up, and except Batman. I think Batman's the only one that's pretty much been the same.
Batman has different iterations, dude, because there's been, you know, like the standard Batman, the crime syndicate Batman, like Owlman, the Injustice Batman, like, good Lord. But like with Constantine, like, I'm very glad that I was wrong in that regard, because I never knew that. And I'm pretty sure a bunch of people going to hear this did not know that.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. The freaking Gaiman verse is pretty awesome. I got to dig deeper into that whole thing. But like,
speaking of which, the Audible book, not to cut you off, but I just finished the Audible.
Go for it.
I loved it. It's narrated by Neil Gaiman himself, who pronounces it Constantine.
Ooh,
so
really?
I'm going to start being fancy, and I'm going to start saying John Constantine.
I am not going to do that.
Especially hearing James McAvoy's sexy ass deep voice, John Constantine. It's fucking so... I loved it. It's making me want to go back and reread the graphic novels. They're on sale now, actually, on Comixology. And again, we're not sponsored by anybody
yet.
But I highly recommend reading Neil Gaiman's Sandman. I've throughout the years of reading comic books, I've always been a cape and cowl kind of reader. it's been, shoved down my throat. Like, this is it. That and Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, the greats, right? Alan Moore's Watchmen. Yeah. Neil Gaiman's Sandman is always up there on that list, and now I see why. It's very loosely tied to DC continuity. You get an original story, and with the occasional appearance of a mainstream DC Comics character, but it doesn't at all take away from the story. It's really good, and I highly recommend the Audible. I finished it. I hope they release the rest of the volumes in that format.
Yeah, so awesome. So tell us more about this. I don't know. Actually, I feel like I'm trying to do like an infomercial. Like, tell us more. Yeah. But no, for real. Like, actually, so then the Audible, is it what is it? Is it the first volume of the Ashley Sandman story?
I believe it's the first 3 volumes.
Oh,
the first 3 volumes, and I'm sure they're going to continue to release them.
I just want to make a quick point that just to go against Rod being fancy, since he's going to say Constantine, I'm going to be super ignorant and say John Constantine.
So he has like blood pressure issues, cholesterol.
Constantine.
John Constantinople.
Whatever his name is. Oh, but that's cool, man. So that's dope. All right. So I'm actually, what do you recommend? Because I've never read anything, and I actually downloaded the first volume of Sandman, the first story, because it was on the. We're not sponsored or anything, but on Comixology Unlimited, right? You can borrow books, and I borrowed
for $4.99 a month.
And I downloaded that first book. I haven't read it yet. But so what would you recommend? Would you recommend for somebody who's never been exposed to Sandman? Should we go the Audible route or to get the Constantine? What is it, Constantine? Or
John Constantine.
Constantine.
That's tough because they add narration. Because obviously we don't get the images with the Audible, so Neil Gaiman adds very colorful narration to the story. And you kind of you create your own mental image of what's happening, and then you have the voice actors. Kat Dennings does Morpheus' sister Death.
Oh, that's crazy!
Not bad.
That's crazy.
Again, the dude from Kingsman, whose name escapes me all the time, he does John Constantine. And as I was listening to the Audible, I was wondering, for the upcoming HBO Sandman series, how could they not cast James McAvoy at this point? Like,
wait. So who did James McAvoy play?
He's Morpheus.
Oh,
he's the Lord of Dreams.
That's insane, dude. Like, aside from hearing it, I can see that shit.
You know what? Okay, here's my recommendation: read the comic with the Audible playing in the back, and get the ultimate experience.
At that point, that's 4D. You're gonna see the movie whether you like it or not.
And pop a mushroom.
Yes.
I don't know. Wait. Whoa. I don't know if popping a mushrooms and then heading into the game inverse is something you want to do. That's pretty wild. But for those of you who are looking for another recommendation, I never got past it just because I was being lazy. But check out the first book of Lucifer from the game inverse, aside from Sandman. It's a pretty good tome. Lucifer book 1, which reminds me, I gotta get book 2. And once again, we're not sponsored. They're all on Comixology from us.
I like how every creator is getting a verse now. Like, I'm hearing the Snyder verse and like the Gaiman verse, the Feige verse, the Tim verse.
Where did that start? Is there any way that we could
I don't know.
Like, I mean, what was the first verse? Was it just a multiverse? And then like, what was the first like trendy one after multiverse?
I don't know. I think it must have been. I don't know. Well,
Spider-Verse?
I think
Spider-Verse was popping. The comic book series is really good.
I think that might have been like the first time I heard it in comics, aside from like the like big time DC multiverse concept. But yeah,
right, exactly. Because DC Comics, that's the strength of DC Comics. I think because DC Comics has really gone deep into their multiverse. Like, they really. It's part of their canon comic books. I think in Marvel it's more like for these specific events, like if it's the Spider-Verse event, and that's it. But they don't really look into the multiverse.
Well, like I mean, remember though, even though that's DC's thing, and it really kind of is, Marvel, they try to kind of take that because remember the Ultimates, like the Ultimate Universe and the Marvel 616 verse, and some crazy cataclysm happened, which I don't remember because I don't really read Marvel like that. But then it all basically it was like a modern day Crisis on Infinite Earths, but at Marvel.
I like that you said that because Secret Wars, the comic book version by Jonathan Hickman, merged. Yeah,
The new one.
The latest one merged the Ultimate Universe and the 616 universe.
See what I'm saying?
And then like the Russo brothers teased, right? You know, fans are always drooling for any kind of like comic book related gossip, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we might be maybe interested in doing that."
Holy shit!
But that shit. That's the only way they can really, again, up the ante on Endgame and Infinity War, which were masterpieces.
Mm-hmm. And I think, oh my god, that would be fantastic for them. My only thing is, I don't think they've ever specified the Russo brothers when they comment on this. Do they mean Secret Wars, like the original one from the 80s or the early 90s? Which was about, like, what was it? What's the game? What's the person called? The super powerful...
Like Grandmaster?
The Beyonder. The Beyonder. The Beyonder takes villains and heroes onto a random planet and makes them fight just because, right? And that,
from this, they did that in the Spider-Man cartoon, right?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. That was the first time I saw the Beyonder.
Because fun fact, that's actually how we get introduced to the black symbiote, you know, for the black suit Spider-Man. That's how Venom gets introduced into the world in a way. But in the Secret Wars storyline, that's when Spider-Man gets the symbiote on him for the very first time.
Yeah, I remember that. That's
basically the best thing about that. But then obviously, yeah, like Rod said, then Jonathan Hickman did an amazing story. That was building years off of his New Avengers book storyline that led to the Secret Wars.
And Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's right.
That was the bookend. It was literally the bookend of the first line of his Fantastic Four comic book, "Everything dies," and then the final line of the Secret War. But yeah, in that story, Doctor Doom is the savior of all reality, and we know that now Marvel has Doctor Doom to play with. So I'm really curious as to what they're gonna do. They got to bring in Michael Fassbender for that or some shit. I don't know.
Not to be like a Debbie Downer, but when I heard the whole thing about like that they might do Secret Wars and all that shit, I'm like, hey, like, okay, I get it. They did, Infinity War, but like, damn, dude, that's ambitious. I feel like there's certain like big events that even on a cinematic scale, it's kind of like the same thing as like with like the Great Pyramids, you know what I mean? Like they got discovered, but like we can't really like build them. It's like there's certain comic book events that are like Great Pyramids. Like you can't really do that shit on film.
Or can you?
I just love that you compared the Marvel Cinematic Universe to one of the wonders of the world. The pyramids and stuff like it. Same shit.
It is.
If you think about it, as far as like artistic endeavors, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is one of the wonders of the world, artistically speaking.
I agree.
That was the fucking deep.
That's why I don't mind. I do believe Secret Wars would be a big feat, but honestly, fucking Infinity War was a big feat, and they did it, man. So I trust them. My only thing is I don't want them like DC's been fucking doing, rushing fucking everything. As long as they take fucking 10, 20 years, I don't mind if I'm in my 50s when I see finally Secret Wars Part 1 of 5 or something, like. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
We're going to be just as stoked when we're 50. It's going to be great.
One of us is going to die from cardiac arrest in one of these movies.
Or COVID.
I'm with it.
Or COVID.
Or COVID.
My whole thing is like...
COVID Wars. Russo brothers directing.
Secret COVID Wars. Or Avengers COVID. Anyway, in regards to what you were saying, Miguel, like, I think that, you know what? DC has fucked up so much, and mind you, home is where the heart is. That is my company. I do take a side on the Great War, even though I don't believe there should be one. I think they're there. I think they fucked up so much by now that they were like, you know what? Let's stop being jerks and stop being greedy and actually do shit in a thoughtful manner. You know what I mean? And I think because they thought doing all these movies that, like Justice League was going to be some like giant, massive hit. And even though it did make money, they know like that money tasted wrong to them, I think. I think they're there. I think they're there because all the crazy shit they're doing they're trying to like, hey, we hear you guys. Take all this crazy shit that you never thought would happen, like the Snyder Cut. Let's not go on a tangent.
Right.
Yeah, I take a little bit of issue with all this like DC fucked up. No. Joss Whedon came in and fucked up the Justice League. Outside of that, Wonder Woman performed well, Shazam performed well, Aquaman performed well, Man of Steel and BVS, granted they were a bit darker in tone, they didn't perform as well in the box office, but they have a strong cult following. So much so that we're getting the end of that trilogy, which I couldn't be more stoked about, but I digress and I will stop there.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they kind of fucked up. Just to seem to, that's kind of like getting really top quality ingredients and fucking up the cake.
Exactly.
What about Marvel with Captain Marvel? That shit was whack. Come on, let's be honest.
What are you talking about? Fuck, I loved Captain Marvel.
I will never watch that movie
I
again.
won't say, wait, which Captain
Well, you gotta
Marvel?
rewatch
Like,
it. What do you?
Just to be sure, because
The Captain
to be
Marvel
perfectly
movie.
honest, yeah, I mean, both Captain Marvels, oddly enough, weren't all that great. You know, like the Marvel Captain Marvel and then like the DC Shazam movie.
Damn, I think I'd rather watch Shazam over Captain Marvel. Even though I didn't like Shazam either.
And yes, I am that old school. I do call Shazam Captain Marvel.
Word, I know you're my classic.
That's not even that old school. That was just a New 52 change.
I know, but it's being forced down our throats. That's why I said which Captain Marvel movie. Because in my head, Shazam is a Captain Marvel.
The one called Captain Marvel.
Facts.
There was a Marvel one-shot not too long ago where they're showing like the Captain Marvel, what's her face?
Carol Danvers?
Carol Danvers, yeah, her iterations across the multiverse. And some clever artist kind of drew like on a side panel a bit of Shazam's cuff boot. And like kind of like just throwing a little Easter egg to the fans, like, oh yeah, this is a Captain Marvel throughout the multiverse. So maybe these people are related, these superheroes in some kind of weird way.
They should do a crossover. That'd be epic.
That was the one shot where Wolverine came back to life.
Right. When that whole story,
I forgot what it was called.
When the new Infinity War storyline started in the comic books, which was just all right. All right. So San Diego Comic-Con gave us a few things to talk about. I think the last thing that came out that we all cared about, but we didn't look into it too much, was basically that The Boys, which we just reviewed, sees the trailer for the season 2, which hasn't started yet. That season 3 is confirmed, so that's fucking cool.
Which is freaking crazy because that means that the trailer for season 2 was so good that they renewed it for season 3, not having seen season 2. They saw the trailer and they were like, sign it.
And let's be honest, does Amazon Prime have anything else that's good?
I mean,
they got some shit with was it John Krasinski? What's that shit called?
Damn, I'm trying to think.
Oh yeah. It's like that John Grisham book,
shit.
Or something like that, No, but they also have. I will say, as a comedy fan, I love comedy. They have a show called Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
I've heard it's good.
Fantastic. It's a great comedy show. It's about stand-up comedy. It's really, really good. But yeah, exactly. But they have that. But they do. Honestly, I trust Amazon Prime way more than I trust Hulu.
That's pretty interesting to say, considering that the past, I want to say maybe 45 seconds were us dead air trying to figure out what Amazon has. Like we couldn't think of shit.
They had a really good comedy that I devoured called Catastrophe. I think it ran for 3 seasons.
There you go,
I loved it.
Yeah, they had Catastrophe. They have a show I saw, Modern Love is a great show. They have Fleabag, that's another really good show. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is a great show. The Boys is a great show. They had The Tick on there too, which is comic book related, which is pretty good.
I forgot all about that.
Come on, man. I know my Amazon. It's not that bad.
Apparently,
but nothing as good as The Boys, though. The Boys is fucking great.
And if I'm not mistaken, that Ms. Maisel show got like 20 Emmy nominations or some shit.
Hell
like that.
yeah! I think it was only beat. Oh, this is actually irrelevant. It was only beat in Emmy nomination by
Watchmen.
Woo! Yeah.
Well deserved.
I had to jump in on that one. I love that show.
Facts.
Yeah.
All right, so best streaming service, go.
Best dang.
Oh, I still have to go with Netflix. I think for now, Netflix streaming.
Why?
HBO Max is getting there, but maybe we'll see what they do because Netflix is for me the tried and true. They were the first ones, and at this point, they have good old shit. And at this point, I know anything they make that has a Netflix stamp, I'm pretty confident I'm gonna probably enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll have to say Netflix.
Is Daredevil still up?
Hell yeah.
I think it is.
Okay.
Dude, I think they're gonna milk that for views. Like, they're gonna get a cease and desist letter from, like from Disney. Like, yeah,
From Kevin Feige.
Like, yeah, you guys gotta take that down now. And they're gonna reply, "Do we really though?"
I'm gonna go with DC Universe because I'm still enjoying Stargirl.
Wow.
You know me, man. I love my DC. They still got Stargirl, which is pretty good. Doom Patrol season 2 so far is off to kind of a slow start. It's not for everyone, but I'm still enjoying it. And we're still getting Titans, which, well, what, come to think of it, I kind of only watch DC shows, so I'm not really the best to judge.
The crazy part about DC, didn't they drop the Swamp Thing season, but they had already told fans that it was canceled? Like they told people that it was canceled and then dropped the season anyway, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't even, I'm not even gonna, I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that. That's crazy.
Yeah, because come on, Netflix gave us all those awesome Netflix Marvel shows, right? We got fucking Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Defenders, Punisher. We got
I miss all of them.
The Old Guard movie, which both Jess and I have seen. Rod, you gotta watch it. It's fucking great, based on the Image book.
Yeah, you do.
Fuck that movie.
Damn, it's a comic book movie, man.
Yeah, word, man. Gosh, good lord. But by the way, you kind of reminded me. I wanted to tell you guys. So in regards to Punisher, he might be coming back. Bernthal might be making a comeback. The debate is up whether it fits to Hulu, whether he appears in the cinematic universe, or who knows. But there's definitely talks of Bernthal pairing over, and hopefully that also kind of signals Charlie Cox. I'm hoping. But
it's crazy how the MCU still has so much material to go through.
Yeah.
They've only scratched the surface.
Yeah, and I heard that too about with Charlie Cox too, because apparently in December, that's when Netflix, ¿cómo se dice? Their ownership of the rights of these characters ends, and it goes back to Marvel. So there's some speculation, and also like in that 3 a.m. dark web fucking deep dives that by the in January we might get some word of potentially exactly that, like John Bernthal, Charlie Cox returning as their iconic characters. Because honestly, I feel at this point, look, I don't know, I wouldn't be ready to see a new Daredevil. I need to see Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. Like, come on, like it ended so epically with Bullseye fucking being introduced. Like, don't just pick it up from where it left off. Come on.
And Disney Plus still has that Moon Knight show coming up. I say throw in all those guys, make it continuity. Because I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like that Moon Knight show may have been a Netflix. It may have started at Netflix, but then carried over into Disney Plus because that character is so tied into the rest of the Defenders. So they can just bring all those guys back in the Moon Knight show and make them continuity. That'd be dope.
Yes.
Yeah, and it would be very impractical for them to recast such iconic roles as Bernthal Punisher and Cox Daredevil. Like, why even waste the energy on trying to find new ones when, one, they aren't huge stars, so I'm sure they'll definitely take the roles, and they played those characters masterfully. They may literally be the best iterations of both characters we've gotten so far. Why get new people?
They're the only ones. Yeah. Oh no, Ben Affleck was Daredevil.
your boy.
That's my guy.
Affleck.
Daredevil. Oh look, and that's another double dip that people forget about. Daredevil was Batman, or Batman is Daredevil, vice versa. Those are pretty cool. All right, guys, and on that note, we're gonna wrap up this little shindig here. I just want to thank everybody for listening. I love you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to hanging out with you guys and talking comics and all the crazy nonsense. I'm Ches, everybody.
Yeah, and I do want to say, as much as I love the podcast, I was excited for our first San Diego Comic-Con podcast special to be dope, but it's like, Jesus Christ,
yeah, man.
Comic-Con at home was, they tried their best, but,
and so did we.
And I'm Miguel, so peace.
Wait, and New York Comic-Con has been canceled, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, I'm Rod, and you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Legion on Zoom, Instagram.com/Legion on Zoom. Just Google Legion on Zoom and just add us to everything. Tattoo our faces on your ass or anywhere else that you want. We love you guys.
Love you guys. Later.
Peace.
Legion on Zoom, starring and produced by Jose Perez, aka Ches, Rodney Martinez, and myself, Miguel Arce. Please subscribe on wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or shoot us an email at legiononzoom@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Legion on Zoom.